You want to see a healthy chart? Here's a healthy chart. It's a thing of beauty. While we're waiting for people, we can talk a little bit about price action. Price came up into this price channel, which is formed nicely, and it pulled back into this bull fib range, which has a target of 57.40 currently. So that's kind of the next mile marker to hit for Bitcoin. Big picture. We got a smaller fib range up here at 46.96. So we'll see if we have one of those bullish weekends. Otherwise, it looks like Sunday nights are like the new thing for inflows.
Good. And Phil, I just on the beta of the crypto money machine, I just flashed a buy here for Lightcoin at 51.71. So it'll be interesting to see what it does.
That is on what time frame?
Hourly.
Yeah, Litecoin is just in a sea of. That's why I said it's probably going to chop for a bit, because we're in a sea of fibs, up in both above and below. But that signal's nice because it's correlating with getting out of that trend line.
Yeah, it's been pretty nice. Yeah, I think we'll just circle back with our programmer and just kind of double check that in bed, and then we'll and then maybe we can put a trailing on it or something, and I think it's gonna be mucho bueno. I think people are really gonna like it. Right now, the profit factor is between 1.7 and 2.5, 48 to 54%, depending on between Litecoin, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. And so, and it seems to be volatility dependent. So as volatility picks back up, our profits move up higher, which makes sense. More trending, less chop.
Right.
So, and I think that the slingshot, because we're in a consolidation, it just chops it too much at the moment. How are we doing? We got 11, 12. We can
You wanna start?
Yeah, and just an admin for those that are on, and I'll repeat it a little bit too, is that two things. One is the pi is a delay between what you'll see on screens and talking, and also you're going to see me turn my head a few times. I next time I'll do this, I'll have my screen and my speaker set up so I don't reverb it on the same screen, but I'm looking at another screen to see the chat. Anything Phil brings up, so I apologize if that's a little distracting. So, and hey, what's up, Sean? I think Sean joined us too.
No, that was me.
Was that you? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. That's right. You're driving it. But so what we're going to try to do here on these live streams is Phil and I are going to get together every Saturday. He and I don't have schedules that are in conflict, and we're going to talk the markets. And those that know who we are is that my perspective will come from the ETF side of things, and also look at things from geopolitical. And Phil will be coming at the market looking at binary trades and cryptocurrency trades, and then I'll also talk futures too. But we'll pick a theme, but it's a live stream and there's chat. So if you guys have questions on anything, we're happy to to deviate to answer those questions. So that's kind of where we want to go. And then if you have questions, just put them in the chat room, and we'll answer them as we go. Does that sound good?
Hey Bob, hang on. I think the stream is lagging.
Okay. I see that.
Huh, hang on.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, good. Yeah, so does that sound good to you, Phil, on our
Yeah,
approach?
yeah, totally.
Yeah. So maybe we could start off talking a little bit about, I think somebody had a question right away, Trader CA, if you want to grab that one real fast.
Okay, so Trader CA is buying Bitcoin or other so controlled on Coinbase. I cannot buy more until after 30 days. I just bought 0.03 in 2 weeks. So yeah, if you want to up your limits on Coinbase, you're going to have to get verified. There's because they're regulated, so they have to adhere to anti-money laundering regulations and know your customer rules. So I think you have to upload. You might have to upload a bill from home, like an electric bill. So you have to basically verify your identity, verify that you live, where you say you live, and then once those are requirements are met, then you can buy a lot more. But you really can't buy big amounts until you link up your bank account. So if you're just doing like a debit card, it's not going to allow you to buy very large amounts. But that's the drawback to having them regulated. But it's also, I feel, a blessing to have these entities regulated. So kind of brings a legitimacy to the whole thing. So, but I think that's once you take care of that, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Hey, Phil, could you can you change the title without reinitiating? Because I think people probably think we're talking futures today.
Let's okay, hang on.
You just maybe just Bob and Phil show or something, trading cryptos or something like that. Good. Yeah, and welcome everybody coming on board. Well, Phil's changing the title so people don't think we're talking futures here today. Is that open forum? We're going to talk cryptos this week. Next week, we're going to talk about, there's going to be some changes. I think fundamental secular changes happening in the market now where we're the spread between the commodity indexes and the financial / main indexes are so stretched that we're going to look for convergence trades. We're going to talk about how to do that, how to set those up, for those people that don't want to actively trade, but want to make sure they're going to be on the right side of what I think is going to be the future in terms of looking out the next 12 to 18 months. Good. Hey, thanks, Phil. So, anyway, yeah, look, I saw some pretty interesting things here, Phil, this week. Too bad Jamie Dimon kept his mouth shut, today, this week, because we didn't get another 10% run on the coins, and I think it's really important to note cryptocurrencies are different than trading anything else in the market because the everything else has a futures component to it or a derivative component to it, where the bankers worldwide have the ability to create shares they don't own, to flood, or contracts they don't own, and flood the market to push down the price of whatever it is they're trading so that they get positioned. So they really only have two ways or really three ways. They can dump their coins on the market, in a big rush, but that's stupid because they're cutting their own throat. Number one. Number two is that they can jawbone like Jamie Dimon does, or they can do what the Chinese do and just shut their markets off or make things illegal. But all those things are very short-term impacts because the value of the cryptocurrency that I think people are starting to really wrap their arms around is that you can't counterfeit it, and that there's only so many coins in existence, and unless you personally lend your coin out to be shorted, you can only really short a certain percentage of the market, and that gives it the scarcity value. And I get asked that question all the time. I'm sure you do too, Phil. Is what gives it its value, and the value is the trust that there's only so many coins in circulation transacting at a certain speed, and that in and of itself gives a value that people can wrap their arms around. And then I saw that chart that I put up last week where why did Bitcoin get to where it got, in this range right now where we're at in the low 4,000s to mid 4,000s, is that Bitcoin naturally found the value of the purchasing power of a US dollar prior to the central banks being created in the United States. And so now we have a stake in the ground where those people who had the foresight to buy the cryptocurrencies before, last couple of weeks is that they obtained purchasing power prior to the Federal Reserve being in existence. And so now, I think you're seeing, and I'll let you talk this in a second, Phil. Now you're just seeing basically capitulate, saying, well, we're not opposed to it. You saw Morgan Stanley saying we never were opposed to it, and you see the World Bank saying, hey, we should probably use this or do this. You have anything you want to add to that?
Well, I think I think for me, what I'm looking for next is where we have any like a geopolitical event or anything like that, and what we're going to see is that the market's going to sell off a little bit, but you're going to see cryptos jump up. And I think when we see, because I think
we hung up, Phil.
Huh?
We hung up.
How did we do that?
Sorry.
I guess like if I click off this tab, it just freaks out.
We're losing people.
I think we're good.
We're good. Yeah, Chris, I think it's on our end. Okay.
Okay, so I think we're good.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, we were kind of talking about, I don't know where we lost you guys, but we were basically talking about I think the bankers are coming to grips and governments are coming to grips that they can't use their typical tactics on cryptocurrencies to drive the price below fair value. And so now I think they're starting to accept it. And then Phil was beginning to kind of share some thoughts on that. So I'll let you jump back in, Phil.
So yeah, so I think the next thing that I think will happen, and I think will create more, or draw more people into cryptos, especially Bitcoin, is the next. I think when we see another geopolitical event, whether it's North Korea or something else, but there's when we see fear in the market, we see maybe a sell-off, which everyone at this point is throwing up their hands, saying that's never going to happen again. But that's when they happen, is because it just seems like it just never stops going up. But when we see some market fear, I think you're going to see, and we've already seen it a little bit, but like if the Dow's down or the S&P's down, say 50, 75 points, and you look over at Bitcoin and it's if anything, it's gone green for the day. I think that's when you're going to start seeing people looking at that and saying, well, that's pretty stable. It's not really affected by geopolitical events. Or the other thing is you'll see there'll be some kind of event market is really red that day, and Bitcoin's jumping up. So I think, that's going to happen. So when it does happen, I think you're going to see a lot of eyes open, and I think you're going to have another big push into, that as a flight to safety. I don't think we've really seen that yet. We've seen a little bit. We've had some market red days, and then there were comments about, like in Twitter land, about how, cryptos are very stable and or up for the day. But I don't think we've really seen that manifest itself. So I think that's just one of many pieces, as you've brought out, Bob, that are going to drive this a lot higher into 2018. I think the next to 2020, I think you're going to see a lot of major upside in crypto land. And then it's just a matter of making sure you're in the right ones.
Yeah, and what I'm seeing, in the market now is that we're seeing like the Bar Association Nebraska accepting. I've seen another utility in Japan is accepting these coins, and what they're doing too is they're actually accepting them at even a discount to par, and I think you're going to see. I think once the first retailer, wraps their arm around one of the what I would call one of the more trading coins versus like Bitcoin as a store of value, is that I think you'll see the whole thing lift, because once we start getting the velocity in these coins, then I think we're really going to start seeing movement here, and I also think that the governments are secretly okay with this, because I think what they're going to do is they're going to let their currencies devalue uncontrolled fashion, and they're going to start operating their trade on using these cryptocurrencies themselves, and then basically pay their debts off with the worthless currencies of all the people who were stupid enough to buy bonds of those sovereign nations.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing too is, as we start seeing these sovereign nations recognize Bitcoin as a legal tender, I think probably the next one, Russia, and I think that's sometime in the first half of 2018. They're going to recognize it as legal tender. I think that's another big part of that push higher. Because like with most people that are on the fringe, they're looking at it going, well, I don't know, but it's not. What is it? Is it a currency? Cryptos is many different things, right? Because the blockchain originally, Bitcoin, was to figure out how to make a currency, and you couldn't counterfeit it, and you couldn't go back to the ledger and modify it. Triple entry accounting, right? And so now, but you have so many other applications with the blockchain. So people are kind of, you got to think there's only 2 or 3% of the people, maybe 2% of the people in the world that really get it, or have heard of it. You still go around asking people if they've heard of it, and they might have heard of Bitcoin, but just really do not grasp the concept. So I think once we get these moves by the governments that are positive for the crypto space, that's when I think you're going to see a massive adoption start to happen. And the last 12 months for, say, Bitcoin and a lot of other cryptocurrencies has been super bullish. I think Bitcoin's up 500% over the last 12 months, but there's going to be a lot more where that came from until we start getting to a point where, like the dot-com boom, people love to compare this to the dot-com boom, but, that really didn't manifest itself until about 10 years later. It was everything leading up to that. And because we went through the dot-com boom, it's easy to compare versus when the dot-com boom happened or was in the process of building up to that. No one really had experienced that before. But with if you think about it, that really started with the stuff that happened. If the dot-com boom manifested in 99, 2000, 2001, it was all the stuff that started happening in 1990, and all these tech companies and the internet, and that was the manifestation. And everybody got into tech, right? Everybody, your waiter, your cab driver, everybody. We're just not anywhere near that level yet with cryptocurrencies. And then, there's probably going to be a mania at the end, and it would make sense to, take a look at diversifying out, because you don't want to be in a super extreme bubble, because they all collapse. But we're so far away from that right now. So you're going to get little periods of episodic inflation, hyperinflation, but that's just been how Bitcoin all its life. Even when it was down like 1 or 2 cents, I remember it ramped up to like 45 or 48 cents, and then collapsed all the way back down to 10. And it's just those extremes are as far as percentage extremes are going to moderate over time, and they'll be less. So now we experience 30% pullbacks, and then it'll be 20, and then 10, as more coin gets spread out to more holders. So, but you just have to understand it's just a volatile growth process, and but if you know what you're doing, and where to get in at, you can really build up your holdings over time, because the nice thing about crypto is there's you don't have big institutions that are manipulating things, so it trades very technical, and that's where folks in the room and the signals we send out. I've been trading Bitcoin since I started mining it back in 2011, so very familiar with how that thing reacts and the psychology. And the new lately we've have to deal more so with news driven type things. So but that's becoming hardened to that too, because now look how fast it recovered. Jamie Dimon put out that thing that he said it was a fraud, and it dropped and bounced off of 3,000, which is kind of a manifestation of a technical move pullback in my book. But that just kind of, I think we might have drifted down to 3,000, but I think Jamie Dimon kind of poured gas on the fire at that point, and but the buyers were there. That was a technical level to get in at. And I think the other thing too we saw recently was China had said, they were shutting down the exchanges. Now, a year ago that would have been a huge technical or a pullback, I guarantee it. And I thought Bitcoin, considering right after that 3,000 bounce, I thought it was really resilient going through all that China news about shutting down the exchanges and stuff like that. So, and part of that too is a shift out of China. China used to be like the dominant player as far as market and volume, and now we're seeing that's moving toward more Korea. I think Japan now is probably the largest, and U.S. right behind it. And that's good. I mean, that's what you want. The whole point of Bitcoin is decentralization. That's why these guys that made like Bitcoin Cash, Bitmain, they're a manufacturer of mining hardware, and they it was getting to the point they were getting so large that if one person takes over the hashing power of the Bitcoin network, they could theoretically control it, right? And that was not what the Satoshi Nakamoto, that was not the intent of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is completely decentralized. So I think we're moving along nicely in that regard. I think it's at this point now we're just going to spread out. You're going to see more. We see that Southeast Asia countries taking hold of it, and now that's going to spread. I think India is right behind, and I think it's just going to continue. So
yeah, and the other thing that was interesting is you have some of the smartest and most entrepreneurial people in the world now embracing this. And I hate to use the word cryptocurrency because it's really not, it's not really crypto in a sense. It's using cryptography.
Correct.
But it's really, I call it non-bank, non-sovereign coins, and because it's outside the banking system. And one of the things you're seeing is that this tay-to-tay, the governments desperately want to control this some way, shape, or form. But the minute China said they're going to shut down the ability to trade the coins in their country, within weeks there were people out there beta testing what they call decentralized exchanges. So, you have Coinbase and Zappo and Bittrex and Kraken. They're all centralized exchanges. Now you have decentralized exchanges. So, unless they want to shut the internet down, people are going to be able to trade coins no matter where they are. And so the governments are just simply behind the times on this. And the other thing too, and I think what's consolidating now, we just had huge runs, but I think the Federal Reserve is trying to bluff the markets, not just in the the cryptocurrency world, but in with anything alternative to them, is they're trying to lift the value of the dollar. They're trying to lift the value of the interest rates, and and suppress gold and cryptocurrencies, but by saying that they're going to go ahead and they're going to reduce the balance sheet. Well, that's not what they said. They just said they're not going to reinvest the balance sheets, and people infer that the balance sheet's going to fall. But the countries around the world are continuing to deficit spend. And I think once we get to the end of October, we find out the Fed didn't really do anything to their balance sheet, and they get to December and they find out that there's no way they're going to raise interest rates, then you're going to see the next explosion in these alternative coins. And before I get too far, there's a couple questions on there, Phil, around First Coin and stuff like that. Maybe I'll let you jump in and answer that if you're familiar with that coin.
No, First Coin's really not on my radar. So I can't really, I'd have to dig into it a little bit, but right off the top of my head, it's not something that I have really looked into at all. So,
yeah, so that should just tell you in and of itself, probably stay away from it.
you got to keep in mind there's like the amount of ICOs and coins and stuff that are coming out is kind of staggering. I mean, I think it's like 7 a day right now. It's really high. So you're gonna have just hundreds and thousands of tokens out there, and that's what is kind of similar to the .com boom, where you had a lot of paper companies that were just the whole mission was to pump and dump, get on the exchanges, and so for me, when I look at all this happening, the you have to go and you have to look at the team, which probably is the most homework because you have to go and look up these guys and see what they've done. And then also two, is it a disruptor? Is it and three, does it have to have tokens? A lot of these applications I'm looking at, I'm like, you don't need a token for that, But that's where I like to look at things that are basically, utility tokens. So one way to look at that would be it's almost like a licensing fee. Like, how Microsoft, you could do Microsoft 365 and you have to pay an annual fee. Well, it's kind of like that you would buy tokens like to use the software. Like Veritasium is like that. And they're going to, Veritasium has a lot of good things going on. And, they're in the Jamaican Stock Exchange. They're going that if they pull that off, which I think they're very, very close to going live, that's going to be like the first, stock exchange in the world that's going to legitimately trade cryptocurrencies on it. So that's a big deal. They're not a huge market, but, for a Caribbean nation, that's pretty forward. That's pretty progressive. So, but that's just one thing that Veritasium's doing, which started by Reggie Middleton, and he's been on Wall Street for a long time and smart guy. And I think that those are the types of things where those tokens, that's kind of like the software usage fee. People have to have tokens to use them, and Veritasium. There's more to it than that. I'm just kind of giving a brief summary on it, but those are the kind of things that you want to have as far as token use. If you look at something and they're like, well, it's like kind of we're going to launch this thing and we have tokens, but it's really, it's kind of like it's just kind of shares in the company. But, if the token doesn't really serve a purpose, I don't get very excited about it. So that's kind of like a real, if you really want to look at something, look and see what the purpose of the token is. Now, I do like some of the lending stuff, but again, you have to look at, do they have a beta of anything? Can they show you any software or anything? If the thing is like, oh, our beta is off into 2018, well, great, I'll wait till your beta comes out. But if you're allocating, there's a lot that can go wrong. That's why. So if I wouldn't allocate very much to any type of project that had a, their timelines way off in the future as far as getting anything working. There's plenty of other projects like Populous, PayPal is coming up. Those are platforms. Populous is Populous is interesting because it's an invoice factoring platform, and a lot of people don't even know what invoice factoring is. That's the biggest market you've never heard of. If you're in business, especially if you're in something like trucking or manufacturing, sometimes you're not going to get your payments in time, but you got to make your operating expenses. So what you'll do is you'll take and you'll say, I've got all these payables that I need to get taken care of, but I don't have the money to deal with it this month because I'm waiting for, I'm backed up on people paying me. So you'll take those, people will loan you the money against those payables, and so that you can make your payroll and other things, and pay your electricity, those things that you need to absolutely have running. And then when you get your money back, or the money that you're waiting for, you can pay back the loan. So what like Populous is doing is they're taking that market that used to only be serviced by institutions, and now they're making it available that anybody can service and factor invoices. So you'll go to a dashboard and you've got your tokens, and your tokens are going to allow you to they're going to represent value that you can use to loan the money against somebody's payables. And then the people that are on that system have been vetted like normal institutional vetting. So they have to have good credit. They have to have some history of invoice factoring. So I'm really excited about that one. I think that's the PPT or PPT token. And that's right now I think is at a really good value. It ICO'd, I think it popped up, probably doubled or tripled in value, and it came back down. It's been pretty stable. But that's definitely something like that. Gets me excited, and I think that thing has because it's a huge market. They don't really have any competition on what they're trying to do to attack it, and so that's the kind of stuff I look for. That's a really good example.
And let me jump in on that and a few other things too. Is that so? My background is that we have my partners and I have. We've done a lot of what's called hard money lending, and we've actually even done what they call merchant lending, which is in the same vein as these trade receivables. And the fact that you own these coins, you're participating in the upside. These guys, their gross interest rates on these merchant receivables are north of 90%, and in a lot of cases they actually are the ones that will receive the payments in, and you're going to get ahead of other payments coming in, and you're talking probably these are net 25-30% businesses, because you will have losses. So you're going to probably see either Populous or another coin will create a coin that's going to mimic what the credit card companies do, and they're gonna have a trade or what's called a merchant receivable component to it, and that thing will absolutely explode. So absolutely Populous should be on your radar, because if they're not going to be there, they're going to be there soon, and it's going to be tremendous. And that's why we're really excited about this. If it was just merely speculation, in the next 2 or 3 years, the speculation is going to kind of end. But now what's happening is that these things will actually drive value long term in terms of transactions, and they're going to supplant whole industries. You don't want to be in an industry where you're a centralized repository of information or money. You're literally going to be gone, or your business is going to be very, very. You're going to become a nonprofit, and so when you see things like that, where cryptocurrency entities are getting in the middle of some of these transactions, you definitely want to take note, and you definitely want to look at who are the people behind it, because those are the people that, if they have a lot of experience in that industry, those are the people that you want to definitely put your coins to. Now, I want to address a question. I saw people talking about, will Bitcoin get to $1 million? And I'm pretty mathematically oriented, and $1 million, and Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, 21 million coins. You're talking $210 trillion worth of value for the cryptocurrencies worldwide today. The assets in the entire world are at $250 trillion. So that means Bitcoin would need to basically be the coin that everybody uses, and you literally have to have a total collapse of every other currency, basically at close to 99.99% loss, and I don't know how they pull that number out, but for me personally is that currencies and currency to credit is how you determine how bad a depression is going to get. And we're right now talking there's a 9-to-1 currency to credit ratio. So you literally could put a stake in the ground right now and say at a minimum, Bitcoin should get to at least $44,000 to $50,000.
Yep.
Beyond there, that's all gravy. So, but getting a 10x move from this point is pretty good. So I wouldn't get hung up on the $1 million thing, and you're talking probably $50,000 over the next. I think people are talking 10 years. I'm talking probably the next 2 or 3 because the central banks have no choice now. A lot of these countries now are what they call it peak credit. They can't shove any more credit into the system doing normal channels, so they're just simply going to have to start debasing directly. And once they start mainlining, that's when you're going to see these cryptos are going to go 1 for 1 on a percentage basis, and you're going to see Bitcoin start moving up, 10-20%, a week kind of a thing again, as people absorb the rate of debasement, and that's coming. I think when we get into next year, we're going to slip into a recession, and then you're going to see the debasement like you've never seen before. And
yeah,
I don't know, Phil. Do you want to talk about Ripple, OMG, and PayPal?
all right. So Ripple, Ripple will be tradable. I'll say that, but I don't like Ripple for 2 reasons. One is it's the bankers came up with Ripple, so I'm not. Bitcoin is kind of the whole point of this, right? Because it's decentralized and you're getting away from the banking system. So Ripple's the banker coin. Okay, so that's strike one. The other thing is the nice thing about Bitcoin, there's a finite amount, right? So these guys, there is no finite amount of Ripple. They can just keep making it, and so I think it'll be tradable. But I definitely wouldn't be holding it, like for long-term growth. I think if there's swing trades that set up, sure, but as with a lot of other cryptos, but I don't like it because I don't like something that you don't know what's happening with the supply. Are they making more? What are they doing? So it's not a decentralized thing. I think it'll facilitate interbanking type transactions for the banks. I think that was kind of probably where that's going, but like looking at it like it's a people's coin like Bitcoin, that's anything but that. So fundamentally I don't like it for those reasons. So but it's going to go up. It's going to go up and down. It's definitely something that'll be tradable. In fact, it's jumped up quite a bit in the last couple of days. So if you are a trader, you can ride those waves up, and on some exchanges you can even short it. Shorting cryptos is actually pretty profitable too, because they tend to, as much as they tend to run up, they'll fall back down. Especially some of the non-mainstream stuff. Not every coin is shortable either. You got some exchanges only will margin certain coins, some of the popular ones. But so yeah, that's kind of getting back to Ripple. That's not something I'm very excited about. Roger asked OMG, Omisi Go. I am very hyped on. I think that is going to have a lot of upside. Again, we talk about tokens that have working product. They have working product. They're doing McDonald's transactions in Asia, right? So that's huge. They're doing stuff. And so I think OMG has huge upside. So really like OMG. I think you definitely need to start accumulating that and hang on to it. PayPal. So PayPal is an interesting one. They are getting into triple accounting. So they're going to have they already do accounting software. I think they have like 15,000 customers on their accounting software, something like that. But they're going to do so this will be triple entry accounting, which was actually a paper that was written by a Japanese guy before Bitcoin. When he started, it was incorporating cryptography and making triple entry accounting, and it kind of came out in the 90s. But so this is kind of cool because it's kind of a manifestation of all that. But as far as the ICO goes, I think that you might what I'm seeing with the ICOs right now is that unless you're getting a big discount, I'm kind of waiting till they kind of release the coin. And then, you probably can pick it up. A lot of times you can pick it up for below ICO price. But unless there's a bonus for getting in pre-ICO where you get a big discount, then I would, that's, some of the things I look at ICO structures. But so I don't know. I will probably throw some Ethereum at it just because it's kind of a unique product, and I think if they do it right, I think it has legs. But it's not one I'd be like, extremely excited about. I still would say I'd probably like Populous more so at this point than PayPal, but I'll put some Ethereum into it just to kind of diversify. There are a little bit of similarities between Populous and PayPal, but because I think you can get like a interest type, if you will, on your tokens. So there's that element to it, but I don't think it's certainly not a crap coin or a pump and dump, but it may take time. It may take time to actually get going. So if you were to, I think if you got into the ICO and it did appreciate quickly on the release of the tokens to the exchanges, you'd probably be well to do to take profit on that and then buy it on a pullback and then hold that stuff. So that would be my take on PayPal.
Hey Roger, my question is: are you accumulating PPT or are you accumulating Kahlua? I'm not quite sure which.
I think somebody was asking what was in my cup. I jokingly said Kahlua.
Yeah, I know, and then he said I'm accumulating. Nice dip. So Dogecoin, I think I'd stay away from as a dog.
Yeah, Doji or Doggy, however you say that. That was actually a joke. I think and then it caught on, but it's not. Yeah, that's just a gimmick. Don't even waste your time with Doggy Coin. It literally has a dog as its symbol.
Yeah,
it's just a joke.
The coins you definitely want to own are coins that are going to either give you, transaction revenue or interest revenue once the speculation portion of it is completed, and then you're going to get a twofer. The coin's going to hold value against the currencies of the day, and then you're gonna get transaction revenue, almost like getting a dividend, and those are the ones that, and that's kind of the value that I think we bring to the table, is that we're evaluating these all the time, and we're putting our own money into these things too. So we definitely want to get the best bang for the buck. And Phil and I have been around long enough. I mean, this is going to be my, if the cryptos go bubble, this will probably be like the 5th bubble I've been in my trading career. And so, you definitely quickly want to understand who the gold-plated guys are, and be long those, and then be in a position to short the dogs. And I think, one of the things that I think Phil does pretty well in his room is kind of point those kind of opportunities out, and the fact that you could trade these coins both ways, should give you confidence that we really don't care what the cryptos do, in a sense, because we're traders at heart. We're not going to die on a hill if something changes. We're all about adding value. So, and to kind of go along with that, is that one thing that Phil and I have been spending quite a bit of time on, is that those who are subscribers know that we offer a futures software product, we call it the Day Trading Money Machine, that we have it on Thinkorswim, and we're porting that over to into Ninja, and then we also started to use TradingView. And one of the things that we've been working on is creating in TradingView is really optimizing the signal for the major cryptos. And so one thing that you'll see, and those that are part of the room will get an opportunity to get, probably within the next 10 days, we're going to be releasing the, what we call the crypto money machine, that really designed around the big ones, Ethereum, Lightcoin, and Bitcoin. And the profit factors are pretty good, and the returns are nice, and you can actually trade it both ways if you prefer it. And one of the things that we're going to do is, if you do join the crypto room, between now and I think we're running a half special to the October 15th. Not only will you get the crypto room free for a year if you buy the crypto courses, but until the end of 2017, we'll put you on the list that you can actually use the crypto swing trader, at no charge, so you can kind of try it out.
Bob, I think we've lost the stream again.
Okay. I'm not sure when I dropped off.
Redo the whole. Talk about the whole. I think we lost the last couple minutes.
Okay.
We're back. I
Okay.
think. Yeah, we're back.
Yeah. So, not sure where I dropped off. I apologize for that. But one of the things that we pride ourselves on is that we trade these coins ourselves, and so we're very interested in just making money. So, we want to get in the right coins to go long. We want to get in the right coins to go short. We understand that the market's going to swing, and that's the value of the cryptocurrency room, is to, we're not just going to be bull tards or bear tards, or hey, I'm just going to buy this stuff and throw it away, and I don't want to talk about any changes to the world. That's not how you amass wealth. Obviously we think this is secular, so you definitely want to have stuff put away, but there's also trading opportunities. And with that is that we trade futures with a software that we created called the Day Trading Money Machine, and we are porting that software also over to Ninja here in the next couple of weeks. But in addition to that is that TradingView has the cryptocurrencies in a charting format, and we are beta testing the a swing trader for the main three cryptos: Ethereum, Litecoin, and Bitcoin. And we have the profit factors are very strong. The lowest is at 1.17. The highest is at 2.5, and the more volatile the market becomes, the greater our profits are. So we're running through some final testing, and we're building in some buffers to continue to reduce the drawdowns, and also to hop off. But in the next 10 days, we'll be releasing that. And for those people that are in the crypto room, and those who will join the crypto room before October 15th, is that we'll let you have access also to the software at no additional charge for the remainder of the year once we release it, so you guys can get a feel for it. And I think you'll like it. I personally trade on it myself because I like to swing trade the coins versus just hold them. And I think you'll find it great value. I mean, these profit factors are pretty strong. I mean, Phil could tell you, and you have profit factors that are 1.5 or higher, and we have profitabilities that are north of 50%. That's pretty good because they take into account slippage and commissions in their strategy testers. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Phil, but it's pretty cool.
No, but I think like I said, it's more technical, so I think your profit's more consistent than other markets per se. And I think you gotta look at this too. Like if you're gonna try to if you're into trading, I think it's a great tool to build up your crypto account, your crypto holdings, because I think going forward, if you're not diversified in crypto, then you are going to be missing out. And I think a lot of guys that have been in the room since April have seen triple digit gains on their holdings, their core holdings. So to me, it's like I always joke it's like having a 401k on steroids, but it really does just smoke what your 401k is going to do. And that's what we talk about in the room. We're talking about what to be in, when to be in it, holding, what's the strategy going out a few months. So, and then we have a lot of great minds in there. We have engineers and doctors, and so been in a lot of rooms. It's a really good room. And I think you'll get in there. I think you'd really enjoy the feedback that you get from all these people that have been into crypto for a while now, and I encourage it.
Yeah, Gib. So how we have it priced right now, the best deal for you is that you buy the cryptocurrency course that's on in the tips and tricks area, the TradeGeniusAcademy.com. And once you buy the training course, if you use the promo code October, you'll get it at half price. And I think you're talking like $250, and then you get access to the or $400. I have to look myself right now, and you get the crypto room at no additional charge for 12 months, and then we'll give you access to the crypto software till the end of this calendar year at no charge, and then you'll have to, obviously, if you want to keep using it, you'll have to pay an annual subscription, which we haven't priced it yet. So I hope that helps you. I'll look it up here while we're talking, because we've been changing the price for the promotion.
Yeah. Somebody asked about. There was a coin they asked about here. Steem. Somebody asked about Steem. Steem is actually one of those things that has some value, right? Because you can, that's going to go into some advertising, and I think that has potential. I don't think that's something that I would just discard and say, well, I don't. I think that's a legitimate use token. So, if you were to accumulate some, and I think that's probably one that's okay to hold and see how it progresses.
Yeah, and so it's at 50% off. It's $400 plus you get the room for free, plus for 1 year, and then you get a we'll throw in for this calendar year the software. So it's a good deal because we charge $99 a month to be in the room normally. So you're basically getting training and the room at basically 30 cents on the dollar, and I don't know. You tell me, Phil, because you're in the room every day. I'm on the other side of it. Is the room kind of exploded in terms of just the level of activity and the help that people give each other, and it's just exciting time to be trading cryptos.
Yeah. It's open 24/7 because the crypto markets are open 24/7. Obviously, at times of the day where we're sleeping, it's a little quieter. But there's no there's activity over the weekend. If something's setting up over the weekend that I see, I'm tweeting it out, or we're talking about it in the room. So, and then we have our signals that go out weekly as far as swing entries, and so yeah, it's like I said, you get a lot of value for being in that room. And I've been in a lot of rooms. I've been trading since early 2000s, and been in a number of rooms that just weren't that good. And I'm not just saying this because we run it, but that is the best room I've ever been in. So, and I attribute that to the people that are in it. We got good minds in there. Like I said, engineers and doctors and stuff. So, and they're all, it's really intelligent talk. The room, I'm not super strict on it. We can, talk about other things too. But at the end of the day, we're trying to grow your crypto portfolio. That's the whole goal. And I want, ultimately, if we can change some lives, and after this run of 3 to 4 years, 5 years plus in crypto, and you've got now, a 401k type portfolio that's going to help you in retirement. To me, that's super fulfilling, and that's what I'd like to help people do.
Yeah, I mean, I think Phil and I, you know, we kind of view ourselves as, a little bit of evangelists you know, I think we're first and foremost really want to help people. Everybody has their gifts. I think, my gift is a gift of helping and teaching, and I think Phil shares that. And Phil and I actually found each other because we were looking for rooms to trade in, and then I started my room in 2011 just as a private room, and then Phil got invited into that. And then when I saw what Phil was doing on the crypto side was when we opened up Trade Genius to everybody. Is that I asked Phil to join me and to bring his knowledge to bear. And so I run the chat room on the ETF future side. Phil runs the room on the binary and the crypto side, and it's both our passions. And then we kind of cross each other. He's gotten me very excited on the cryptos over the past year, and then he trades some of the things that I trade on the ETF side. But I think there's people on this chat right now that are members, and they'll tell you that we're extremely accessible. And if there's something happening, we're at our desk trading it. And Phil's worse than I am because I at least get the weekends off when it's not, the futures are closed. But a couple times this week I was 2 or 3 in the morning just trading futures, and cryptos are 24/7. In fact, the weekends are usually pretty exciting times, and so you'll see people calling out trades any time of the day or night. Pretty exciting.
Yeah. In fact, we can take a look at. Why don't we just take a look at Steem, uh, just to kind of show you guys what we do or talk about. So this is like the daily chart of Steem. Now you can see here, April, May, as with a lot of cryptocurrency or cryptos, very bullish run there through June and July, and so 2 big major pushes up, but then it's kind of fallen off, and you kind of see I think you see that quite a bit on a lot of different ones that aren't mainstream. This is definitely like an altcoin or alt token, but you notice in here, look at all the volume that's built up at this level. So you got a lot of support in here.
So you dropped.
Why does it do that?
I'm not sure.
I might have to use a different browser for the stream.
Yeah.
Because if I'm in Chrome, and it seems like if I do something in Chrome, it'll trip it out. Okay, guys, sorry about that. Looks like we're good now. Okay, so let's minimize this. Okay, so Steem. So I know, yeah, there's Steem at dollars and stuff like that, but what we're concentrating on is Steem Bitcoin, so Steem token. Now, as I was saying, you can see this big run up we had, and then it fell off, and that was. You could find this pattern through a lot of different cryptos, but we are in a spot I think is a good spot, technically speaking, for Steem, where at this above this 25,000 level. I think that's going to be probably a decent place to get in at. You can see a lot of people have accumulated in this zone too, so this isn't too bad. I mean, you're seeing a lot of accumulation here, and a lot of times with cryptos you'll see that this gets accumulated, and all of a sudden you'll have another push up. So this is where I would say it's building its next base from, and then in the next next wave up, it's going to go up. So again, Steem has Steem BTC has a utility function, and so I definitely think that there's potential for growth there. So there's most of the circulating supply is out in the wild. They do have a few 100,000, I think, or million that are in still being withheld, but I think there's 280 million tokens out there. So you have to keep in mind that's a lot more than there are Bitcoins, right? So you won't see crazy valuations, but I think you'll definitely this range here. I think we'll definitely see new highs. That would be my read on this. And I think we're just consolidating here. So if you were to get some here, I think in the next 12 months you would see some appreciation. I'd be surprised if you didn't. So that's just that's the kind of stuff we talk about in the room. And so if you have any, it's an open, ask questions, ask all day. That's what we're there for.
Yeah, and does anybody else have any questions? We kind of we're about a little over an hour right now. We're going to try to keep these to an hour in the future. And just so everybody knows, Phil and I are going to do these talks every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. Pacific time, unless either Phil or I have something we just can't get out of. But we schedule this kind of wrap up the week. We'll have a theme, but we'll talk about anything. And so if you're interested for next week, I think we're going to start seeing a secular change on the ETF side of the world, where we're going to start seeing a convergence. What's propelling the cryptocurrencies is going to bleed over into the commodity world. The central banks have been suppressing the commodity market to basically modulate inflation on the things that could kill people, like food and energy, and they're starting to lose control of that a little bit, and all that money has been going into financial assets, and we're really at a peak here. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to play that convergence trade, because we just don't know if we're going to have what's called an inflationary collapse or a deflationary collapse. But there's a way to play it where we don't care beyond the cryptocurrency world. So just put it in your calendars to do this with us, and we'll start. Once more and more people know we do this, the room will get bigger and bigger. But we have a pretty good, decent for the first time. But if people have any questions now, we want to answer them before we sign off, and then that way we'll pick it back up next week.
Yeah, maybe wrap up. We'll do a little Q&A. So you got any questions? Feel free to ask.
Yeah, Jay, we'll probably put it out there, and for sure we'll make it public. So you guys can listen to it after the fact.
Any crypto questions?
When we do this show, we have our buffering time between us, then we have the buffering time between that and the system, and then people have to sit there and figure out what question do I want to ask and type it in.
Yeah.
And by the way, that buy hit, we're at 14 cents already on Lightcoin, so pretty interesting.
Let's take a look at Mr. Lightcoin while we're waiting for questions.
Yeah.
So the thing with Lightcoin you have to keep in mind is that it moves, as you can see, it can move a ton. It did this 133%, 134% move in August to the end of August. I think we're definitely gonna see. Didn't quite get to triple digits. We got close, $98 plus on Coinbase. We're gonna see that. We're gonna see triple digits on Litecoin. Litecoin has a lot of things going for it. I think Charlie Lee is a great engineer, but he's not a good marketer. So he'll say things that's just, he thinks he's being funny, but it actually, people don't understand. People are new to crypto, so they, what you might joke about, they might take a different way. And so he should probably just have a spokesperson for Litecoin. But on that being said, they're doing a lot of cool things, and they've always been kind of pioneering the technology that will eventually make its way into Bitcoin, like SegWit, segregated witness, for example, which just means that you're going to make transaction times faster and transaction costs lower, and that was kind of what that whole drama back in August was with the Bcash, coming out from the fork, and SegWit was a huge deal. Still kind of is a little bit of a deal, and we'll get into that on the next webinar. We'll get into SegWit 2x because that's another thing that's coming up, and we'll talk about how to deal with that. But Litecoin pioneered getting that going first. They've done Lightning Network transactions. Now the last thing they did was atomic swaps, which essentially allows you to trade directly with somebody else without having to go through an exchange. So like decentralized trading. So if I sent you, and that'll be facilitated through a contract. So you just fill out what you want to do. If I wanted to trade Bob, I say, hey Bob, you want some Litecoin? I want to accumulate some Bitcoin or trade it out here. Yeah, so I would just interact with Bob. I don't have to go to an exchange, upload my tokens to an exchange or my coins to an exchange, because they're out of your control at that point. Though you have the right to do whatever you want with them on the exchange, but if something happens to the exchange, you're out those coins. So this is kind of nice because you never really lose control. It's an all or nothing transaction on an atomic swap. Either both sides put the coin in and it goes and it transacts, and then each party gets what they want, or nothing happens because, say, somebody decided to get cold feet and not do it, and the contract would expire and your coins, you still have your coins. So atomic swaps are pretty cool, part of the decentralized trading and exchange that I think we're headed to. But as far as getting back to Litecoin, so I think we're just in here we're kind of accumulating again, and I think we're going to break out of this trend line, and we're going to move higher again. You can see a lot of volume, there's a lot of accumulation in this big fib area here. Okay, this is a buy fib zone, and because of the correction and the pullback, there wasn't a lot of volume up here, right? It just kind of price zoomed up, and then buying demand fell off and stuff, and we had some news come out, negative news, and so Litecoin kind of came roaring up, and then kind of just took it right back on the chin. So, but you can see there's a lot of potential for it can really boogie, but you got to go through these periods of consolidation. So again, it's just how these things are. They're volatile. So with Litecoin, it's like if you are up a lot in a short amount of time, more so than Bitcoin, you'd probably want to look at taking profit along the way. Or you're just going to say, hey, I'm just going to, because if you just omit this spike, you've got a nice steady uptrend going, right? So, but if you do get crazy spikes up, I would say, hey, take some profit. If one thing consistent about Litecoin, it tends to correct. And so just keep building your core. But I think, you got to just keep in mind, it's just not going to be like a high flyer like some of these other ones. Will it appreciate as fast as, say, OMG from today till the end of the year? I would probably say OMG has more upside potential, but again, it's you want to be diversified. And I think once Litecoin gets into some payment channels, does a deal kind of like what OMG's, they're doing payment channels, right? They got to deal with McDonald's. They're doing those transactions in Asia. Something like that will happen for Litecoin, and I think it's going to rocket higher. So for me, if I see it go back over 100, heading to that 120 mark, which I think we have a current fib target on, definitely would be taking some off the table there, converting it back into Bitcoin, because we would be pretty positive in the Bitcoin ratio department.
Yeah, and then what I do with these the Litecoin is in my strategy, and I think it's a good one, is that I'm buying Litecoin and Ethereum every week. I just I'm in a drip program in Coinbase, and then I move those coins over to Poloniex, and I can move them anywhere. I have accounts with Bittrex and with Kraken too, but into Poloniex, and then I am scaling in and scaling out on basically my buy and close signal for Litecoin, so that I'm building my wealth by actively managing it. I'm always exposed long in case you wake up one day like we did with Litecoin and it's starting moving up $5 or $6 an hour. You can't chase it, because one of the things that we found out is that these moves happen usually at the start of the Asian market or the end of the start of the at close of the Asian market, start of the European markets. A lot of people are sleeping, and you'll miss the moves. So you always want to have some exposure, even if you're scale trading in and trading out of it, and then you want to be dripping in. And then when Phil calls out some of his hard resistance areas, then you could prune a little bit more. And so that was the genesis behind the creating the crypto money machine, is for people that want to keep a core position but scale in and out of size, so that you can keep adding coins at a lower and lower cost basis. The other thing, if you look at Phil's chart on Lightcoin, I know he jumped off, he doesn't have to go back, but volume profile and fib channels are extremely important because it behaves very well technically. And so when you see a big ledge like it's forming right now in the $50 area, is that there is smart money that is accumulating there, and then price will tend to run to an area that has low volume, and so you start looking. They're called cleaves and nips, in terms of where there's low volume area. It's kind of like a low pressure system. It's the wind's running to there, and so that's where price will tend to run to. So that's why what Phil does, when he trades and when he shares, is that he's looking at fibs, he's looking at volume, he's looking at areas of Fibonacci resistance, and also low volume areas, and in those areas you take profit at. So anyway, I just want to kind of share what I do, and so there's so many different ways to skin the cat. So depending on how active you want to be trading it.
Yeah, with Litecoin, like Bob was saying, so this is a nip, this is a cleave in here, this low volume, and so what'll happen is, you'll get these quick moves. What's interesting about Litecoin here, though, is that with all this move up, this is a daily chart, so you had several multi-day move up, but relative to the volume, it was pretty light compared to what we've been seeing if we look back months. So this is a kind of a good, this part of the chart here is kind of where a lot of the action was. So you can see pretty obvious to me, and I think Bob would agree, that when you start seeing a large area of accumulation like this, you're gonna go higher. And this just stands out huge to me. This is very bullish. But again, you have to have Litecoin's, like I want to call it the patient coin, because you have to have a lot of patience with it. Bitcoin tends to, when it corrects, it tends to correct, and then it gets back on its feet and goes again. Whereas Litecoin, as you can see, you'll get a move, and then it falls off, and then a move, and it falls off, and it'll consolidate. So you just have to know that with Litecoin, and like I said, be more nimble than, like, say, Bitcoin as far as taking profit. But I think it has good upside, and I think you can hold it. Maybe take half of it and trade it, like, take profit, and the other half hold as your core, something to that effect with Litecoin. But I think people get tired of it because it doesn't move. But I think long term, I think toward the next 2 to 3 months, I think we're back into triple digits, and it could be sooner than that. But
yeah, and just so you know too, by actively managing it, I'm up nearly 3x my investment.
Sure.
So so you got to realize we're a little spoiled right now, because some of these moves are 100% in a week. So and that's why you want to be in the room, because I'll be taking my daughter to volleyball practice, put a call in the so in the evening he'll just say, hey, something just ripped 6% in an hour, and so that's the kind of hot flows that are right now that we're watching all the time.
Bob, we lost it.
Okay, well, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. I'm refreshing it now. Should be back on in about a minute.
Okay.
So maybe we just wrap up these tokens, and
We live again?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Buffering.
let's wrap up, Phil. We've got kind of a little bit over our time today, but I want to really thank everybody for joining us. We're gonna change the browser for next week, and
We're not
uh,
we're not live yet.
okay,
I don't know why it's buffering. We had up to like
yeah,
33 people. That was good.
there you are. We're back. So hey,
And
we're gonna wrap up. So next week, 11 o'clock, we're gonna shift gears, go back into the markets a little bit, talk about another way in which we can play what we think is going to come out in the future. And I really appreciate the feedback. And if you're not a member, we encourage you to come. Use the promo code October, and you'll get 50% off. And if you buy the crypto courses, you'll get a year free in a room. And when I release this software, once we determine it's ready to go, let those that are crypto members be able to trade with it for the rest of the calendar year, and then we'll determine pricing for 2018. Anyway, thanks a lot, Phil. I really appreciate your time.
yeah, and I'll get to Mafale, your question real quick about mineable coins versus pre-mine coins. Pre-mine coins, like I said, are okay if there's not an overabundance of the coin supply and they have a legitimate use. Pre-mine coins or mineable coins are cool, but I think with the coins that we have now, I think I don't want to go back to mining a coin at this point. I think that window for the retail guys is closed. So I think we're seeing a lot of just pre-mine stuff, with the tokens and stuff like that. It goes back to how I approach ICOs and that sort of thing. So I would forget about retail mining at home. Those days are gone. I did it for 3-4 years, and but with the industrial mining operations that are out there, it makes it tough. So that's about it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, everybody. And then Roger, why don't you send an email in and let me know what you're thinking, and then we can talk further. All right. Thanks, Phil.
All right, thanks guys. Take care. Bye.